What's going on, everyone? My name is Shantanu, and in this video I'm going to be talking about Deepak Fertilizers and Petrochemicals Limited. So if you haven't seen my previous video where I've discussed the importance of small cap, mid cap and large cap stock, do check it out. The link is in the description. So Deepak Fertilizers and Petrochemicals Limited, also called as DFPCL, is a small cap stock and it belongs to the chemical sector. Now I'm going to be talking about the management and the history of the company along with the business model, and I'll also talk about the recent financial performance of the company along with my personal opinion, right? So let's start with the management and the history of the company. So Deepak Fertilizers and Petrochemicals Limited is led by Mr. Sailesh Mehta, and the story of this company tells us a bit about what is actual perseverance and resilience. The story about the company also tells us when you are in power, it is not necessary to take actions based on emotions. Rather, you have to think strategically and tactically, and you have to take decisions that are good for you and your business. So one of the story which is quite famous when it comes to DFPCL is when DFPCL tried to acquire 100% stake in MCF. Now the full form of MCF is Mangalore Chemicals and Fertilizers, and MCF was part of the UB group, which belongs to the famous Vijay Mallya. Now what happened was that DFPCL acquired 30% of MCF from another investor. They bought this stake from another investor, and Vijay Mallya was not convinced of this DFPCL being a stakeholder in the company. So what happened was another company named as Zuari Fertilizers Limited, which was based out of Kolkata, decided to participate in this bidding process, and they were direct rivals of DFPCL. Also, you should know that MCF was also a competitor and a direct rival to DFPCL, and I'll tell you why acquiring this stake was important for Mr. Sailesh Mehta. Now, Zuari Fertilizers was run by Mr. Podder, who, if you don't know, is the founder of Gillette India Private Limited. He's also the non-executive chairman of Chambal Fertilizers Limited, and it so happens that he's a close friend of Mr. Vijay Mallya. Not a close friend, but Vijay Mallya hugely supports Mr. Podder, and so was the case in this case also. Mr. Podder was hugely backed by Vijay Mallya in order to buy all of the stake of MCF, and in this case, after lots of bidding and other processes, Mr. Sailesh finally decided to sell his stake to Zuari Fertilizers, and the profit that DFPCL booked was of 63 crores. Now, in the press statement released by Mr. Mehta after a few years was that buying stake in MCF was strategically important to DFPCL because MCF provided them an entry point into the South Indian region, especially Mangalore and Bangalore regions, and so they were quite disappointed when they had to sell their stake to Zuari Fertilizers, but at the same time they booked a huge profit which stands at 63 crores. So this story, along with many other stories, such as in 2005 when DFPCL's Taloja facility was flooded with water, yet the company reported that they have not lost any revenue from it, and the revenues have in fact been stable throughout the year. Also in 2014, another incident happened in which the government of India decided to stop the gas supply to DFPCL, mainly because there was a huge shortage of supply of domestic gas production. Now, if you don't know, domestic gas is used to manufacture fertilizers and chemicals, and so DFPCL also needed this gas supply from the government of India. Yet the company again stated that there has been no loss of revenue, and the revenue and the balance sheet is pretty stable. So as an investor, this is quite nice to see and feel, because if you are invested in this company and such cases arrive, yet when you look at the balance sheet has no effect on it, then it really comes off good into the eyes of the investor. Now, before moving forward, if you are really liking this video so far, then please do hit the like button and smash that subscribe button. Well, now I'll talk about the business model. So the company has mainly two verticals from where it generates its revenue. First is the chemical sector, and second is the fertilizer sector. I'll talk about the chemical sector right now. So the company produces chemicals which are widely used in the leather tanning industry and other tires industry, dyes industry, and so on. Also, you should know that isopropyl alcohol, or in short IPA, which is widely used in manufacturing hand sanitizers, is developed by this company, DFPCL. And so you can expect what effect it would have on the financial performance of the company. And also that the company is heavily dependent on the raw materials. So the company has to buy raw materials from other sources, and a single fluctuation in the price of these raw materials can really hit the profit margins of the company, right? Because let's say the raw material prices rise, and so since the company is selling the end product to the consumer at the same price, then the profit margins would be severely affected, right? Now I'll talk about the fertilizer section. So fortunately for the company says that the effect of lockdown has not impacted any of the revenues of the fertilizer sector, because the agrochemical industry is not being affected and the farmers are using their fertilizers and buying their products. The company has also forayed into the realty sector. So they have a mall situated in Pune and they are trying to diversify their business a lot, which is a very good sign. So this was it about the company's business, and now I'll talk about the recent financial performance of the company. So like I mentioned earlier, the company has witnessed 170% growth on a quarter-on-quarter basis from its IPA generation mechanism. And by IPA I mean isopropyl alcohol. This is mainly due to you know why. If you don't know why, let me tell you, this is due to coronavirus and the manufacturing of hand sanitizers by other companies to help prevent this virus. On the negative part, the revenue has been decreasing from the chemical sector on a year-on-year basis. So this is one bit of negative point. Also, the prices of the raw materials has been decreasing on a year-on-year basis. So when the price of the raw material decreases, that means the profit margins of the company increases, so which is a good sign. And regarding the fertilizers front, the fertilizers revenue has been pretty stable. It has been increasing in fact, and one positive point is that the raw materials for producing these fertilizers has also been decreasing on a year-on-year basis, which is also a very positive sign. Now this one is a huge negative point for me, and the negative point is that the debt that the company has is considerably huge. Why is this debt increasing? That is because the company has plans to increase its plant locations. So they are trying to set up a plant which can manufacture nitric acid, sulfuric acid and so on. And so that's why since these projects require huge amount of money, that's why the debt is increasing. This is a negative point. Now this was all about the financial performance of the company, and now I'll talk about my personal opinion. So the company is doing great when it comes to managing their own portfolio or diversifying into other businesses. So like I said, they have forayed into the realty sector and are now building projects, for example malls, residential sectors and so on. Another positive point is that when it comes to certain chemicals, DFPCL is a market leader in them. So this is the only company that produces certain chemicals, I should say manufacture chemicals in bulk amount, and this one is a huge positive point for me. So since they are manufacturing isopropyl alcohol, which is widely used in manufacturing hand sanitizers, I think this company will do great in the near future. And I mean that this company will do great when it comes to revenue from IPA or isopropyl alcohol sector. Now let me list down a few negatives. First is that the company heavily relies on subsidy provided by the government. Second is that the company has a huge debt, which I already discussed in the financial section. The third is that the company's dependency on the raw materials. So like I said, if the raw material prices increases, that means it can directly affect the company's profit margins, and so there can also be a loss. So personally for me, I think I'll not invest in this stock for long term, and this is a very good stock for the short term, because like I said, the increase in the revenue from that IPA sector, isopropyl alcohol sector, can really boost up the revenues of the company in the next quarter. So yeah, that was it for this video. If you really like this video, please hit the like button and click on subscribe for more such videos, and I'll see you guys in the next video.